Little Olivia Newton-John going on right now. This song would have been great for this movie, actually. Let me hear your body talk. Let's review The Babysitter Killer Queen and let's spoil the hell out of it. Let's go. The Babysitter Killer Queen stars Judah Lewis, Jenna Ortega, Emily Lind, and is directed by McG. What is up, guys? The Babysitter from 2017, I believe, is a movie that kind of caught the horror community by storm. Everybody loves a good horror comedy, and that's exactly what this was. It was just so fun. And a major ingredient of that was Samara Weaving. She's just, I guess she's kind of the horror it girl these days. Just recently she did Ready or Not, and she's electric. She really is. She just got that like it factor that horror fans love in a final girl or leading lady. And so this movie comes along, which kind of snuck under the radar. Like nobody even knew that this movie was being made. And then all of a sudden, like right before it was made, it was announced and the trailer popped and everybody was excited. But the big question was, where's Samara Weaving? This will be a spoiler review. This movie's been out for a little while now, and as always, I'm late to the game. But that kind of is cool for me because I can, like I said, I can spoil it. I can talk about all that fun stuff that was in this movie, and I can talk about whether or not Samara Weaving was in this. So, from this point on, if you have not seen The Babysitter Killer Queen, I recommend that you get the hell out of here. Or if you don't care about spoilers, then stick around. Also, guys, this review will be dedicated to one of my newer patrons, the Horror Guy. He has a YouTube channel. I'll put a link to his channel in the info box. You can check it out. He's got a newer channel, and I checked out some of his videos. I like that he does like skits, like little skits, you know, some planning. Put some planning into those videos, and I like that. I like younger channels that experiment and think outside the box. And so, the Horror Guy, check out his channel. Link in the info box. This video is dedicated to you, good sir. But first off, quick plot synopsis. This one takes place, I believe it says 2 years after the events of the last one, even though the movie I think came out 3 years ago. But Cole, he is grown. He looks like a young man right now. Good looking kid too. I had a feeling based on his performance in the first movie that he was going to go far, even though he was a child at the time. He definitely stood out. You know, he's a really good actor. And so I knew that his career was probably going to launch. And it's only fitting that he is, and he really is, the main character of this movie. This movie pretty much rests on his shoulders. In the aftermath of the events of the first movie, with this satanic cult group, nobody believed Cole. Everything was covered up, and so he's having to go to like the school guidance counselor, which that guy's funny as hell, by the way. We'll get into the comedy of this movie. But his parents don't believe him. Nobody believes him. And so obviously, if this is something that really happened, this is a kid that would be pretty messed up by this, and it would constantly follow him everywhere he goes. Can you imagine that? If you knew of something like this satanic cult group that caused all this havoc, all this death and mayhem, and you couldn't really tell anybody because they would call you crazy. That's the situation that he's in. So anyway, fast forward 2 years down the line, he's in high school, he has his group of friends, and they're going on this like boat trip in this lake area just to have some fun, kick back. Emily Lind plays Melanie. She is not his girlfriend. She actually has a boyfriend who looks like just your regular jock type. And there's definitely some sparks flying between her and Cole. There's even this scene that's in the closet that totally reminded me of Teen Wolf. Everybody remembers the scene in Teen Wolf where Scott Howard, he gets locked in the closet with Boof for 7 minutes in heaven. Well, it's 2 minutes in heaven in this movie. That just goes to show the attention span of audiences these days, that 7 minutes in heaven, it has to be 2 minutes in heaven. But then, like the first movie, this group of kids, they end up in this living area of this boat. We have this shocking scene with all this blood and mayhem, swinging for the fences in terms of Carnage candy. And again, I was surprised because it seemed like they were setting Emily up to be the sidekick, you know, the female lead along the way with Cole. And it wasn't that at all, which I really enjoyed. Enter this character, Phoebe, who is very eccentric. If we back up a little earlier in the movie, she comes to the classroom and she states that she killed somebody and nobody takes her seriously, which I knew that would come back into play. But I didn't expect her to be the leading lady of the movie. And I really enjoyed her as a character, actually. She's just got a lot of spunk. We like characters like that that offer a little bit of spice to the recipe. And boy, does she. But honestly, guys, this movie is like sensory overload. There's just so much coming at you, so much going on. And it's paced very well, almost like too fast. It's hard to even like keep up with because, like I said, there's just so much going on. Before we get into the fun, blood, and all that stuff, let's talk about the horror comedy element that I really loved about this movie. The parents, they start off in this movie, in my opinion, kind of annoying. But as the story goes on, the father really shines. Him and this other character who plays Melanie's father. Those two, they start getting high together. You know, they're pretty much the Cheech and Chong of the movie, except they're dads. And I gotta admit, guys, I was laughing my ass off. I know comedy is very subjective, and I know a lot of people online were stating that they hated this movie. And I even saw, like, one guy said that this was the worst movie of all time. Sir, if you're seeing this review, if you ever say something like that and it's not even near the worst movie of all time, nobody's going to take your opinion seriously. Nobody. 0.0, I promise, okay? There's a little tip for you. This is not the worst movie of all time. And if half the audience enjoyed the movie, then it's definitely not the worst movie of all time. Usually the worst movie of all time is just that. Nobody likes it. Seed of Chucky. You know, I go outside right now to people walking along the street and find me 2 people that like that movie. Just 2. Just give me 2, okay? You talk. Give me 2. But it seemed like the big misconception with this movie was it was fun. That's all it was. It was, you know, just tongue-in-cheek, not to be taken seriously, very meta, very self-aware. There were quite a few moments in this where they were pretty much telling the audience, hey, we're in on the joke here, okay? Don't take this shit too seriously. We're just having a blast with each other. And if you go into this movie with that mindset, you're going to have a great time. Just like the first movie. That's another thing. If you liked the first movie and you hated this movie, I don't get it. They're both pretty much, they go hand in hand with each other. And by the way, when the dad is in the car with the other dad and his wife calls him and she's asking him if he's high and he will not answer the question.
Honey.
What's that?
Are you high?
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to you. Are you high?
I was laughing my ass off on that scene, and those 2 actors, Chris Wilde and Ken Marino, I tell you, it's great when you have 2, they're pretty much like comedian type actors, and they handle comedy so well, and I think they played off of each other very well, actually. And it was a nice break, because if those 2 characters didn't work, it would really drag the movie down, you know, because we don't like to spend time with characters that we hate. And I'm sure there's some people that don't like those characters, but man, I was laughing my ass off. I loved them. I could watch another movie, like a spin-off movie, with just these 2 characters. Now let's get into our core baddies, John, Max, Allison, and Sonia. It was fun because they had already been killed in the last movie. And so to come back with, you know, a chance at redemption in hell, I guess, you know, you got to do what you got to do to get them back on screen, right? And it's okay because this is all make-believe anyway, right? But to me, the big thing about them was they're very charismatic characters, every single one of them, especially Max, played by Robbie Amell, which I didn't know that he was Stephen Amell from Arrow. I didn't know he was his brother, but after knowing that, they look so much alike. But man, he was just really funny, especially in the end when he's like proud of Cole, even though, you know, he's about to die.
Fucking stuck, Cole! I'm not even mad, bro!
That's not something you usually see in these types of movies. So it's nice when they give us characters that we can kind of play around with, and they're not the stereotypical, predictable types of characters. No, these were really fun characters. Even Bella Thorne, who is hit and miss for me. There's a lot of movies that she does do that I don't really care for. She is kind of wooden, but in this movie, you can tell that she really digs deep into this character and she has a good time. But really, the big thing about this too is the kills. Like, you get to watch all these characters die again, and it's just fun to watch the carnage can do, because McG, he knows that this is a horror film for horror fans. You know, that's obvious because there's just so much blood being thrown at the screen every time one of these characters dies. And it's pretty creative. Like, especially her death, when her head is like stuck between these two rocks and she gets like ripped down. Just really fun stuff. Yes, these are obviously CGI kills for the most part. That's just something you got to get used to these days. Of course, we would prefer some of these kills to be practical, but at the end of the day, I'm still having fun because I like these characters. I do. If I didn't like these characters, then this movie would be a hard pass for me. And I'll admit, guys, I was surprised by this because I went into this thinking that Samara Weaving wasn't going to be in it. And of course, she is in the movie, and she's probably not as good as she should be. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. Also, one of the best things about the last movie was the relationship between Cole and B, that fun dance scene that they have. I mean, after that dance scene, you couldn't help but love these two characters together. They try another dance scene in this movie, and you know, they throw everything in the kitchen sink at it production-wise, and it doesn't even compare to the first movie. That just goes to show how important strong characters are. But luckily, the heart is still in the movie. This is really a great like coming of age, next chapter story for the character of Cole. And I gotta give Judah Lewis big credit here. I think he handled this role very well. You do care for this character throughout the whole movie. You're constantly rooting for him. Luckily, you have the character Phoebe alongside him, and you love those two characters together. So she's a nice replacement, I guess, for B. But ultimately, there's no character in this movie that is as good, as infectious as B, as Samara Weaving. So now let's talk about Samara Weaving in this movie. There are these weird little antidotes throughout the movie. I don't know if you'd call them flashbacks, whatever, or just like dream scenarios with our main baddies, and then you see B just kind of pop in. And I'm not gonna lie, Samara Weaving phoned in this performance. You can tell that they only had a limited amount of time with her, and she really seemed tired throughout most of the scenes that she was in. She is in the final scene, which is a great scene, but not because of her. You know, luckily everything else that was going on around her made that scene good, but Samara she wasn't giving it her all. It is nice that the character kind of comes full circle. You think she's good, and then we find out that she's like evil. They bring her around, and she pretty much gives her life to save Cole. So she's actually good. So it's a nice little redemption story for her, but I don't think the performance was there to really drive it home. But overall, guys, damn, I had a blast with this movie, if I'm being honest. It's just one of those that it's fun to just sit down, relax, have some popcorn, not think too deeply on a movie, and just laugh. And that's what I did with this movie, you know? I just had a great time with it. But for my rating, definitely gonna give this a low purchase worthy. It was really fun. I would definitely buy both these movies. They would make a great double feature, for sure. Is The Babysitter even out on Blu-ray yet? I don't even know. The first one? But anyway, post in the comments your thoughts on this movie. Let me know what you guys think. I know I'm gonna get a lot of mixed opinions down there. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays, we do free for our Fridays. Follow me, Drumdums, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.